Welcome to Jets Talk. My name is Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Boys and girls, I wanted to hop on a little live to give my thoughts about the Quinnen Williams news that came up today. A lot of people are freaking out about it. He removed the Jets from his Twitter bio. So let's pull up the little thing right here. Boom. So Quinnen Williams in a contract dispute with the New York Jets currently. This line right here used to say defensive tackle for the New York Jets. No longer says that. Clearly the ... is some sort of indication that he's upset with his contract, which is kind of something we've known for quite some time now. And then he retweeted Adam Schefter's post from, 10 days ago or so. Giants All-Pro defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence reached an agreement today. 4 years, $90 million extension, including $60 million guaranteed, making him the third highest paid defensive tackle. So if you're Quinnen Williams and you're looking at your stats compared to everyone else, and you're saying, wait a second, why is this guy getting paid? And I'm still sitting here without a contract. And I think fans are getting kind of irritated because we can all sort of look at this roster and say Quinnen Williams is an integral piece to this entire operation. He's what makes the entire defensive line click. This guy is good against the run. He's good against the, in the pass rush situations and whatnot. This guy is absolutely deserving of a contract equal or better than what Dexter Lawrence got. So I want to pull up, some of the stuff we've gone over the last last week or so. We heard some rumors the other day. This is from Rich Cimini. The Jets and Quinnen Williams were not close on a contract. That's something that we were kind of discussing not too long ago. And then we were talking about, okay, who's the highest paid defensive tackles? So defensive tackles here. Clearly, Aaron Donald is on another level. $31.6 million a year. No one is on Aaron Donald's level except for Aaron Donald. He's probably going to go down as one of the best players of all time, probably the best defensive player of all time when all things are said and done. But then you look at this next list. So Jeffrey Simmons, Darren Payne, and then Leonard Williams, Chris Jones. They didn't have Dexter Lawrence on here when I took this screenshot last week. So I would imagine Lawrence is probably on here as well. But there's guys that are in Quinnen Williams' draft class and wheelhouse as far as skill level goes, and Quinnen's absolutely deserving of this. You're looking at 23.5, 22.5. I want to say Dexter Lawrence got 23. I think Simmons got a little bit more than him. They're both all of them are 26 years old. They're all from that same draft class. So when you're kind of looking at defensive tackles, why is there this kind of standstill, and what are the Jets doing by having this? And the real question is, we don't know what Quinnen's asking for, and we don't know what the Jets are currently offering him. Right now, the New York Jets have him under team control for basically 3 years, $55.3 million at an average of $18.4 million a year. That would be $55.3 fully guaranteed, but on a year-to-year basis, because they have his fifth-year option this year, plus the next 2 years of franchise tags if they really wanted to do it. Now, this is not something I condone at all. I definitely think that the Jets should pay Quinnen Williams because I think he is going to be a proven player. Some people harp on the 1 year of really good level of play, and then the other years were kind of like, okay, he's good, but we're just waiting for him to take that next step. And I think you don't want to get too caught up in that because you saw what he was able to do when he was healthy on the field and what this defense wasn't able to do in the game or whatever, 3/4 of a game, whatever it was, that Quinnen was not on the field. It clearly looked like a different defense. So I've been of the, opinion that maybe you should look for a 4-year, $100 million contract. That's $25 million a year. But when you're looking at Joe Douglas's point of view and you're kind of saying, okay, well, if I'm playing the number game, I'm trying to figure this all out, you're looking at $18.4 million a year is what the Jets have him under contract for. So for a long time, I was thinking, oh yeah, no, these defensive tackles that are coming out from this draft class, they're going to get somewhere in the $20 to $22 million a year range, because why would teams want to fork over extra money when they have him under control? Now, the baseline starting is clearly 3 years, $55 million fully guaranteed, because obviously that's what you have him under team control, but you want to elevate that higher or at least close to what these other guys got. I think Quinnen Williams retweeting the Dexter Lawrence contract almost makes me feel like that's where he's looking to get paid, and I think that wasn't even the top defensive tackle, if I'm not mistaken. But we did also hear that Quinnen Williams would take a price break if the Jets re-signed his brother Quincy Williams, which the Jets have already done in the tune of, I believe it was a 3-year contract that they wound up giving Quincy. Was that just, hey, sign my brother, we'll do that. And now we're going to play the hardball negotiations and, we're not going to get as high of, or we're not going to get as good of a deal as we all kind of thought maybe we would be getting here. Now, one big concern with Quinnen Williams that I think maybe some fans have, or maybe, the guy making the deal, Joe Douglas, has, and that's the percentage of snaps that Quinnen plays. We have a defense that does not prioritize quantity of snaps. It prioritizes quantity of 100% snaps, if that sort of makes sense. Like, the more you rest Quinnen Williams and some of these other defensive linemen in a 60% rotation of snaps, you're going to get a higher level of play per snap. And you kind of see that based on some of the statistics that we got to see right here. So clearly this is, that draft class, and Quinnen Williams, having the least amount of snaps, has the most amount of production. So you're thinking, all right, well, why don't we get him to play closer to the Darren Payne, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons, Christian Wilkins percentage of snaps? Well, maybe he's not going to be quite as productive if he plays to that level of snaps, but you don't know. It's kind of like a chicken or the egg type situation. Like, is he this productive because he's getting that much rest? And is the Jets defense as lethal as it was longer into games, longer into the season, because these guys were not getting, beaten to death the entire regular season by playing 100% of the snaps? I think there's definitely something to be said for that, because you look at San Francisco and they've had great defenses over the last few years, and they operate in a similar capacity where you rotate fresh guys in as opposed to just having a guy who is better but might be gassed. Like, is Quinnen Williams at 75% better than John Franklin Myers at 100%? Like, if you're kind of going back and forth in terms of stamina and whatnot, and I would argue you'd probably lean more towards the 100% stamina guy at, most junctions, but you want to keep Quinnen healthy and on the field for the most amount of time. So I get where there could be some concern here from Joe Douglas, but I don't think this is a wise move to kind of keep putting this off. Now, I do think Quinnen removing the Jets from his Twitter bio is kind of the new thing to do for all young stars. He's like, oh, let's get the fan base riled up. They'll start jabbing the New York Jets. The Jets, clearly want to make him a priority, but Quinnen doesn't quite feel that way right now. Obviously, we got the Aaron Rodgers contract that they're trying to negotiate, and you're trying to go for a Super Bowl for these next 2 years. So then you run into this question of, okay, well, what is the worst case scenario where this could kind of happen? Quinnen's a 26-year-old star at a premium position. You want to lock this guy up, not just for the sake of this season and next season, but for the sake of the franchise and the team morale moving forward. You better believe Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, AVT, all these young cats that we're going to want on our team for a long time, they're looking at this Quinnen deal. This is the first contract that Joe Douglas is going to have to re-sign one of our own, or at least at a premium level. And they're kind of looking at this like, how is this going to play out? So if you're Douglas, you don't want to fold right away, because that means everyone else is going to take you to the bank, and you don't want that to happen. But you also have to do right by Quinnen. If it were me, I think I would offer Quinnen the 4-year, $100 million contract. Maybe you make it like a 6-year deal and you stretch it out so that way the cap hits aren't quite as egregious as they would be on a 4-year contract. But I would offer him that. And I think if Quinnen were to stick his nose up at that and say, oh no, I want closer to Aaron Donald money, at that point, I leak the terms of the contract and I say, hey, look, we offered him a monster contract. We offered him more guaranteed money than the second highest paid defensive tackle. He wants more. You know what? We want to win a Super Bowl. We're going to have you play on your 5th-year option. Let's look at it again. You want Aaron Donald money? Let's give you Aaron Donald money if you hit the Aaron Donald type production. But I don't think it's going to have to get to that point. I think we're going to get to the eve of training camp, and I think what's going to happen is the Jets are going to have this standoff with Quinn, and it'll be the Roscoe Diner 2.0, a la the Darrelle Revis Hard Knocks season. That's what this all is. This is all, excitement for Hard Knocks. They're building it all up. I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. I would be very surprised if Joe Douglas allowed one of Robert Saleh's best defensive players at the position that he really, really loves, that defensive line. I don't think he's going to let him walk. That doesn't seem like, not that he would let him walk, we have him under contract, but there's no way this guy's getting traded. Like, the worst case scenario is Quinnen's going to have to play on his 5th year, and then he's going to have to play on a franchise tag. And then maybe after that, if the two sides still can't come to an agreement in some crazy contract dispute or something like that, then maybe you consider trading Quinnen in like 2025, which, maybe there's some value to that, but like, I don't think it's worth pissing off everyone else on the team and the fan base going into like a very, very amped up season where you're hoping to compete very late into the NFL calendar season. And this guy's going to be a huge part of it. So Quinnen's got some leverage here. His body of work is really what's going to, get this done. So hopefully that's where we see everything play out. I really think it's going to get done. I think he's going to get paid. But let's jump into some of your questions and comments and things like that. We'll do this for, what do we want to do? Do like a 20-minute live or something along those lines. Matthias says, players are not going to want to come here if you don't take care of your good players. Yeah, well, the rest of the league, I feel like free agents are going to go where the most money is for the most part, or where they feel most comfortable. I think we risk more of our own players' satisfaction and team morale by not getting this done with Quinnen. Snoopy says, pay Quinnen. We don't want to hear it. Get it done, JD. I completely agree. Ryan says, if he wants $25 to $26 million per year, cool. If he wants $28 to $30 million, he can suck it. Yeah, that's kind of where I fall. I would say $25 million a year, $100 million is what I would offer him. And then, if you leak that kind of contract to the locker room and to the press and everything like that, and I don't think anyone's going to be on Quinnen's side for that type of contract. Like, it's not like the Jets would be lowballing him. If the Jets are offering him $20 million a year right now, then yeah, I think players and fans have a right to be pretty irritated to see what's going to happen. Joe S. says, what happened to the discount if his brother signs with the team? Yeah, I don't know what happened. That really sucks. Z Doggy says, I swear, bro, we are so close to glory. If we Jets it up right here, right now, I will die. I hate that we're used as like a verb, or it's not a noun. My English, not so good. Jets Forever says, we're in no rush to extend Quinnen. 5th year plus 2 franchise tags. We'll pay him eventually. Yeah, I think we will definitely pay him. I don't want to use the franchise tag, though, because that is a very threatening move. That's meant for a guy that hasn't proven to be a good player yet. And, if you want to make the argument, hey, we want all our young players on, cheap contracts to play out the duration of their 5th year, then, figure out some type of Band-Aid contract where it's like, okay, we'll pay you, we'll guarantee you whatever the franchise tag is for next year, fully guaranteed right now to play on your 5th year option plus that, but we'll make it some crazy high number where we'd have to restructure your contract anyway. And you're going to get the new threshold of contract because you've waited that long, but you've got a little bit more money right now because we've signed you to this Band-Aid contract, which is kind of what they did with Darrelle Revis back in the day. They couldn't quite figure out a long-term deal, so they got like a 2-year contract Band-Aid. So maybe they would look at something along those lines. Hennessy says, pay him so he can never get 12 sacks again. I don't want to see it. This isn't a Muhammad Wilkerson situation to me. I think Quinnen Williams is significantly better than Muhammad Wilkerson. I think he's a totally different type of player. I don't think his motivation is quite what, I think his motivation is clearly better than Muhammad Wilkerson. I don't have a worry about Quinnen just rolling over and not doing what we want him to do or what he's done in the past. Hennessy says, Hard Knocks needs a storyline besides Rodgers. This is it. Yeah, I completely agree. I've kind of been saying that for a while, is the storylines leading up to the eventual Hard Knocks that the Jets will get is probably where this all is. Brandon says, players under contract shouldn't be able to hold out from practice and or games. He's still getting paid regardless. So they made it a lot harder to hold out with the new collective bargaining agreement. So Quinnen can sit out right now, but once he starts missing the mandatory training camp portion, he starts getting fined pretty heavily. And I don't know the exact terms of that, but he's going to play. There's no way for him to really hold out. I mean, unless the Jets just say, hey, we'll give you, enough money where you're not going to do it. But $9.5 million is way under what Quinnen Williams is worth right now. I think if he was hit with the franchise tag, it'd be a harder decision. Maybe he's okay with missing the $9.5 million because God forbid he gets hurt. That's $60 million guaranteed that he's leaving on the table. Like, even if it's not from the Jets, it could have been from someone else. We just saw how Lamar Jackson was kind of treated for the whole offseason of, this offseason. But maybe, I don't know. I get what you're saying. Players under contract should just kind of understand. No, I shouldn't say understand. Players should honor their contract, which is fine. But Quinnen didn't negotiate this contract. This isn't one that he signed with any sort of leverage or anything like that. He was slated for this contract because of where he was picked and because there's a cap, not a cap, but there's a rookie wage scale. So depending on where you get picked is what your contract is. This is what his contract said he was worth at the number 3 overall pick. So I do think he is worth far more than what he's getting paid right now. Joe S. says, I hate Twitter. Yeah, I hate the drama that Twitter creates, right? Never, I feel like I have to avoid looking at the comments over there. Let's see. What else are you guys talking about? FM says, Quinnen is the best player on this team. I would say he's up there. Top 3. I think you can make a strong case for Sauce. I think you can make a strong case for obviously Rodgers and probably Garrett Wilson as well. AVT is probably in that discussion. Quinnen definitely on the defensive side makes a lot of things click the same way Sauce makes a lot of things click as well. Jets Forever says JFM should have never gotten that contract. Utter disaster. I don't think so. Isn't he like the 18th high? He's not super high paid, I don't think. I don't think it's that crazy. Chris from the town says, Ryan, how much does he want a year again? I don't actually know. The comments we heard from Quinnen were, he wants to be paid fairly. He would hold out of voluntary workouts, things of that nature. He retweeted the Dexter Lawrence contract, so I would imagine somewhere in that kind of realm is where you're looking, $23.5 million a year, which I think he's definitely worth. I really do. Philip comes in and says, Quinnen contract isn't going to get done until they are done reworking Aaron Rodgers' contract. Yeah, I think that is a large piece of it. You have to figure out the quarterback, because look, I don't care how good Quinnen Williams is. If you don't have Aaron Rodgers under contract or you can't figure out how to get this done or something stupid, like Rodgers is the most important piece to this whole puzzle. And then Quinnen is absolutely next. So once you figure out Rodgers, then figure out Quinnen. I'm not super beat up about it, but I do think Quinnen has to wait a little bit longer because of the Rodgers reworked deal that they're working on right now. And everything I've heard about that says that it's going to be a very favorable deal and fans are really going to like it, which has me excited. Maybe we're going to get him for a little bit longer than we were sort of expecting. I see some comments about Quinnen being a Mike McCagnon draft pick. Yeah, I would hope that wouldn't come into play. I think good GMs should extend good players regardless of if they were drafted by the previous regime. This guy clearly fits the mold for what we're trying to do here. So if there's any hesitation by Douglas because of that, I'd be pretty upset. I don't think Douglas is that type of GM. I would say that's probably not. I don't think we have to be too concerned about that. Z Doggy says it's the fact that he is able to take all of the attention of the offensive line and provide pressures on double teams and that makes him so good. Even if he doesn't get much sacks, he is really good anyways. Yeah, he could be creating sacks for other players because of the space that he eats up and the double teams that he takes on. I think that's important to look at, and you probably have to go back and look at the tape from other seasons as well and see if that's kind of what happened, because without Loss in 2021 and without Vinny Curry, he didn't have any edge rushers. He was always the focal point of that defense. And last year you saw with the edge rushers, with some other healthy pieces on the defense, he was able to really, really flourish here. And I think looking more into how many double teams he took and what success other players have, I think is worth some conversation for sure. K. Yeti says, Quinnen Williams is the cornerstone and the best player on this team. Can't focus on offense and lose him. It won't happen. I do disagree. I mean, I shouldn't say I disagree. I agree that a deal has to get done, but you have Quinnen under team control for the next 3 years. With Rodgers, you want to get that figured out so you know what you can pay Quinnen on a structure of contract. And I think that's pretty important. You don't like maybe you're getting into this conversation not so much that Quinnen was a Maccagnan pick, but maybe Douglas, if he's looking at Rodgers and he's seeing the Jets are going on a 2 years of Super Bowl push here, do they want to keep Quinnen's contract as low as possible? And then if you're going to extend him, you're now pushing more money into years, 2025, 2026, which is when you're going to have to start paying big money to guys like Sauce and Garrett and AVT and Brees. So maybe there's some concern there that you may not be able to retain some of your own draft picks because you're backloading a contract when you don't really have to. The Jets have Quinnen under control for, a little over $18 million a year for the next 3 years. And that's kind of where I think Douglas is sort of losing, a little bit here. It's like, hey, like, why would I fork over an extra, say, $7 million a year when we have to be, financially responsible? And if you're trying to put as much talent around Rodgers, I don't know. It's a fine line to walk, and I don't love it. Joe S. says, that's the collective bargaining agreement, Ryan. It's not the Jets' fault. Yeah, no, I know that the collective bargaining agreement makes it where the rookie pay scale came in and, how they hold out and whatnot. But it's still I fall on the side of the players for a lot of this. I do think that there's a negotiation to be had, but these guys have such a short shelf life of a career, not to mention like the lifespan of, I'm not talking about like career lifespan, I'm talking about like actual health lifespan of an NFL player. Go look it up. It is drastically shorter than the average male, like by 20 years. I was mind boggled when I saw that. So I'm all for these guys getting paid as much money as possible. Kazarik says he needs to chill. He's not going to get a new deal. He's going to play for the $9 million and then he'll get an extension. However, they have to redo Rodgers first, then figure out the Quinnen extension. I do think they're going to go in that order. Rodgers first, Quinnen second. But I don't think he's going to have to play on the $9 million. I think they're going to give him a pay bump. It might be like playing on the, maybe playing on $9 million, cap hit for this year, but because of the signing bonus, he'll actually get a bunch of money this year. And if I'm Quinnen, I'm fine with waiting a little bit and letting other defensive tackles get paid because it's only making your case stronger to get a higher contract. And who knows? I think I wait till training camp. If I'm Quinnen, maybe he wants the money now, but I don't think there's any real concern. Chris says, why wasn't Woody rushing to pay this man like he was A-Rod? Because Aaron Rodgers controls so much more of the game than Quinnen Williams. I love Quinnen, but if I had to pick one or the other, it's going to be Rodgers all day. Now, you can talk about age, and you could say, hey, I want Quinnen for the next 5-6 years, where you might only have Rodgers for 2, but I don't think it's even a discussion. I think Rodgers is definitely the more important piece to get figured out because it allows you to figure out Quinnen Williams and even more players after that. So I don't think it's so much a why was he willing to pay A-Rod. I think that's not a great way to look at it. BK Khan says, Quinnen had one good year. We lose him, and it'll be okay. The culture and mentality is well intact. Stop hyping him or thinking he's so detrimental. So that's the other piece of this puzzle, right? Like there's definitely something to be said for, hey, Quinnen played 3 years prior to last year with like okay results. Last year, he was a force. He was an absolutely dominant force, but was that because he had other dominant forces on the defensive line? And if he's only going to play 60% of the snaps, is he really worth it? Maybe the Jets want to, hey, we'll give you close to Aaron Donald money if you play, close to Aaron Donald level this season. Like we got to see more than 1 year of production out of you before we fork over this much money. I think there's definitely something to be said for that. And I also think that, we have a lot of first round picks that will eventually have to get paid. Factoring out Zach Wilson, you have AVT, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Brees Hall, even though he's not a first rounder. Jermaine Johnson could wind up being one of those guys at some point. And if you're paying guys after 4 years, you're losing that value of that 5th year option that makes it so valuable. So maybe Douglas is setting the standard right now, saying, "Hey, everyone's got to play on that 5th-year option, and then we'll give you the big money after that." I don't like going into a year where you don't have some financial security on the year after. I think that puts players in a bad situation. It makes them play with their back against the wall, but I don't think it's a way you really want to operate. Not with the elite players. Maybe with guys that are middling. Let's say I don't know what would be a good example of this. Like, let's say Mekhi Becton this year. You haven't seen anything from him. He's playing with his back against the wall. He doesn't have his 4th-year or 5th-year option because we declined it. You want to use the franchise tag on him next year. Like that, like Quinnen is significantly more proven than Mekhi Becton. And I think it's two different things. But I do think it would be detrimental to lose Quinnen, especially after investing the number 3 overall pick in him. It would be absolutely a mistake to see that. Kevin S. says 4 years, $100 million. I do like the 4 years, $100 million. I think that makes a lot of sense. Money Mitch says, wait, I thought this was Green Bean's channel. Why am I here? LOL, just joking. Thanks. That's all right. We'll all be together soon. We're actually going to start doing the Talking Jets panels over on the new Talking Jets channel starting now, so that way we can get our watch time up. So that will be over there starting tomorrow. I'm not gonna do the call-in show tonight. I think I'm just gonna roll with this for tonight, and then we'll see where it goes. It's Snoopy says, the defense sucks without Quinnen. Ryan, stop it. I don't know if it sucks without Quinnen, but it definitely was impacted in, was it the Buffalo game where he got knocked out? I don't remember which game he got knocked out of. Chris from the town says, yes, he plays. Yes, play like a Jets. Just did a highlight reel for Quinnen, and it was unbelievable, the double teams he was taking on and winning. Yeah, I saw that. Those guys do a great job. I got to get Luke on here. I haven't had Luke. I tried to reach out to Luke, but I don't know how to get in contact with him. I had Scott Mason on. That was really cool. Slugo says, our 4 best players, Rodgers, Sauce, Garrett, Quinnen, in that order. Yeah, I would say that's probably right. Or, maybe, I would say that's probably right. I think Rodgers and Garrett are going to make the whole offense click, and Sauce and Quinnen are going to make the whole defense click. Like, I think you need both guys on either side of the ball to make all of them look just as valuable. Like, Rodgers is more valuable because of Garrett Wilson. Sauce is more valuable because Quinnen's creating pressure up front, and vice versa, that sort of thing. FPP says, I like your shirt except for Green Bean since he hates the Packers. Green Bean hates every team that's not the Jets. It's not specifically Packers focused. It's any team that's not Jets. So don't get too worked up. Yeah, this new Talking Jet shirt. Bam! Where am I? Boom. It's got a back to it too, but I'm not going to turn around right now. You're going to have to look on the website, jetstalk.com, if you want to get yourself a shirt. Boogie Down Bronx says, if Quinnen Williams was a free agent, we would have signed him and gave him a monster contract by now. Being that he's homegrown draft pick, we want to play this game of let me cheat you a couple of million. Well, he's not a free agent yet. Like, that's the thing. Like, we do have team control for the next 3 years. If he was a free agent, he would have 31 other teams that he could talk to. He doesn't have that. He's only got one team to negotiate with. So the Jets don't have, I don't think they should nickel and dime him. But I do think that there has to be some sort of recognition. Like, hey, look, the Jets got you for $18 million a year for the next 3. You want $25 million a year. Let's meet in the middle, and let's give you maybe some more guaranteed money. Like, maybe it's a lower per year average, but you're getting it fully guaranteed or something like that. James says, with everything that happened with Rodgers, Williams needs to cool it down and give it time. He should obviously get paid, but he shouldn't be trying to stir drama with the Twitter stuff. I'm sure that's his agent telling him to do stuff, and maybe they're talking back and forth, hey, you think I should, tweet this or say this or do whatever. He's sending those messages because, he wants to cause a stir. Wants to create a little bit of drama, wants to put a little pressure on the Jets. Maybe the Jets will fold. They're trying to sell a bunch of tickets right now. Maybe that's what happens. James says the Jets sneeze and everyone makes a big stink about it. We'll be fine. In Joe we trust. I do trust Joe Douglas. I'm not concerned. I do think this deal is going to get done. Ronald says Quinnen was also double-teamed until last year because we didn't have complementary personnel on the outside. I think that's why we got to see Quinnen flourish a little bit more, where he was the guy that offensive lines only needed to worry about in years past. Last year, he had some help. The edge rushers, which we have never had, freed him up a little bit more. Still took on a bunch of double teams, but it freed up other guys, and then now offensive lines have to rely on Lawson or worry about Lawson, worry about JFM, or worry about Bryce Huff coming off the edge, and now Quinnen's pushing the pocket right into the quarterback's face. I like Quinnen. I think Quinnen's a critical piece to this. David Hall, I just subscribed. Thank you. Much appreciated. Dan asks, how are you doing, Ryan, on this fine Monday night? I'm doing all right. Had work earlier today. A little bit tired. Not going to do the call-in show tonight, so we'll rip through some questions right here. I'll do this. We're at the 30-minute mark. Okay, let's go through a few more questions real quick, and then we'll wrap this up here. Sean McAder says Quinnen is a great player for us. In his first 2 years, who did he have on the defense with him? He finally had people around him. Rodgers is awesome, but a short-term fix. Quinnen is here for the long term. We need both. Yeah, and I think you'll see both ultimately get done. Ooh, I do like this. Hader Ali says, what up, Jets fighters? Welcome to the House of the Dragons, as per Aaron Rodgers' 8 new team motto, Fire and Blood. Ooh, a little Game of Thrones action there. I like it. Freedom Face says, am I the only one who thinks that Will McDonald is going to become like a Micah Parsons and maybe even more? He looks crazy good after a couple of weeks of watching his film. I would love for him to be Micah Parsons. That would 100% be worth the pick. I do think he's worth the pick right now. I just think it's a pick made for 2024 and beyond, as opposed to like immediately helping right now. Like right now, he seems a little more like a situational pass rusher. But I do think that it's going to ultimately be a really good pick for the New York Jets. All right, so let's circle this back around. Let's talk a little bit about this again. Quinnen Williams holding out right now, removes the Jets from his Twitter bio. There's a whole lot to do. What's going to happen? Is this a really big deal? Is it just some, posturing from either side? I think this ultimately gets done. I think Quinnen's going to get a contract in the 4-year, $100 million a year contract range. It's going to get done. On the eve of training camp, it's going to be Roscoe Diner 2.0, and we're going to have Hard Knocks and all the drama that goes with it, and this will be one of the main storylines heading into training camp. So guys, this isn't the last that we've heard of this situation, and I'm sure we're going to make more videos about this as the summer rolls on, but this is where we're at right now. Let me know your thoughts. You can let me know in the live chat. Actually, you're not going to let me know in the live chat because I'm about to end this poll. We had 257 votes on the live chat poll, and 48% of you are not concerned, 28% of you are concerned, 17% of you were very concerned, and 5% of you said Roscoe Diner 2.0. All right, boys and girls, that's going to do it for me for tonight. I'm excited to talk some Talking Jets with you guys tomorrow over on the new Talking Jets channel, so make sure you subscribe to that. YouTube.com/@TalkinJets. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.
I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quinnen Williams. Right sideline, Usamas got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims.
be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life breathing in the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.